Musings. As always, I'm your host, Derek. With me is Pat. Pat, how are you today?
Great. It's a wonderful, wonderful Saturday. The sun is out. I don't know about everybody, but you guys got to be out there. It's just the barbecue smell is it's in the air, and spring is upon us. We're here now.
Every week you talk about barbecues, and I'm getting
Yeah.
hungry. Like we're gonna have to have a barbecue.
I mean, we could arrange that.
Musings barbecue outside.
Yeah. That'd be fun.
Yeah, it's gorgeous out today. It's a nice Saturday.
Mm,
We're recording on a Saturday, which we don't
mm,
usually do. I think it's
yeah.
usually a Sunday. So no
Mm.
Monday scaries or Sunday scaries. I don't know what it is. What do you?
I'm sorry. It's the first time I've heard that.
Yeah, it's one of those scaries. They don't
So,
exist.
I agree with you. Yeah, I know what you mean, and we'll go on from there.
Anyway, no scaries at all. Very excited about today's topic, but before we get into that, let's talk about what we've been
Mm,
listening to.
mm-hmm,
So I'll go first. A bit of I don't know, early 2000s
mm,
emo, not emo, I don't know,
mm,
alternative, whatever.
mm,
So I've been listening to Paramore, just
mm,
any of their albums. It's
mm,
fantastic.
mm-hmm,
Uh, Bleachers, also love them, love their sound,
mm, mm.
especially their earlier stuff. Um, MGMT, which
Oof,
came
there
and
we go.
went, but
They left us hits.
you know about it. So listening to
Mm,
that, dabbling with some Panic at the Disco here and there,
mm-hmm,
and then finally Phoenix. Phoenix, yeah,
mm.
forgot about them.
Nin-
I was listening to
1901.
yeah, I was listening to MGMT, and then I was like, oh, remember Phoenix?
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, let's check them out. So it was
Mm.
nice. How about you? What have you been
Uh,
bopping to?
this, th- yeah. This week I've been going down a little bit early 2000s EDM route. Just listen to Dead Moth 5. Just like classic in terms of EDM house electronic music. It's always going to be a personal favorite of mine. A little bit of going down Kid Cudi route. I don't know why. Man of the Moon. I always associate Kid Cudi with spring. I do not know why. It's just naturally that's just how I feel about it. It's a little.
Nothing wrong with it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know. So, I'm feeling that upbeat vibe a little bit. So I've been vibing with that. And last but not least, got to go with Outkast. I've been, it's just the way you move and Hey Ya has been bumping. And then listening to a little bit more of Andre 3000's solo work.
Mm.
His features throughout the years on different artists, records. He has a very wonderful way of just being poetic with his lyrics. That's it.
Period. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think you know what I forgot to add to mine. I think I've been listening to Outkast a lot this past week
Mm,
too, since we
mm,
kind of wrapped up our last episode, and
mm,
the talent and just the
mm.
creativity they both had was unrivaled, unmatched at that time, and still
Agreed.
to this
Ag-
day.
Agreed. Agreed. I can't disagree with you in the slightest. They have made fantastic strides in music, and they're even though like I said we do miss their art being combined, but I think their solo endeavors are worth to listen to if you get a chance.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited about today because today we are going to be
Mm,
talking about and spotlighting
mm,
one of my favorite artists of all time. Still
mm-hmm.
listen to them um, probably weekly. Um, but we are talking about today Linkin Park. Uh,
Oof.
Probably, very influential alternative rock, new
Mm,
metal, if you want to call them that. Whatever it is, they
mm,
just push the boundary of what rock could be with hip hop,
mm,
and I don't know. It really had an impact on me growing up, listening
mm,
to them, and a lot of my friends growing up also. Same thing.
mm.
Pat, I know you kind of feel the same way with them.
Yep.
So we're going to spotlight them today. We're going to talk a little bit about how they started, where they formed, albums, of course, Tragedy,
Mm.
and where they're heading as they continue to still create music. So
Right. Mm.
let's jump in. Um,
Please.
so if you don't know who Linkin Park is, go listen to Spotify. I don't know what to tell you. Um, like,
I co-signed that.
like, where have you been the last 25 years? Anyway,
Mm.
so they formed in California, Agora Hills, in 1996. They were
Mm.
high school kids, I think junior, seniors, around that age. So what is that? 17, 16, 17, around there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the band was originally formed with Mike Shinoda, Rob Borden, and Brad Delson. Uh, they were all friends in high school, and they all played music instruments, and they really enjoyed it. But it was more of at a time like that was like their hobby. They just liked to play music. They got together, did that, and it wasn't until they decided, they wanted to take this seriously. They had no interest in, um, jobs like a typical 9 to 5 after school. They didn't really want to go to college. They decided they wanted to take this seriously and try and get signed. So
Mm.
they recruited Joe Hahn, Mr. Hahn, who Mike actually met at the Art Center College of Design,
Mm.
and also met their lead singer at the time. His name was Mark Wakefield, was the
Mm.
original singer. So they made this band, and they originally called themselves Zero with an
Mm.
X in front,
Mm.
because that's serious when you put that X in front.
Yeah.
So the band recorded a self-titled demo, and they wanted to send this demo out. So they didn't even like mess around. They weren't even playing shows when they first
Mm.
were around. They just were like, we're going to record this thing and we're going to send it out to labels. So they did that in 1997. They sent it out to a few labels. Unfortunately, they were rejected by every single label that they sent it
Mm.
out to.
Mm.
So with that, Mark Wakefield, who again was the singer at the time, decided to leave the band to pursue other projects. And I forgot to mention. So there was another band member, Dave Farrell, who I believe was like the drummer. He left because he wanted to tour with his other band, which
Mm.
they were called Tasty Snack.
Oh
Okay.
God. Oh boy.
So he left, to go pursue
Mm.
stardom with Tasty Snack. So it kind of left, Mike, Rob, and Brad again, along with Joe, Mr. Hahn, together. But they were without a voice, their
Right.
lead singer.
Mm.
And I just want to say, like, that's a lot of work right there for a bunch of high school kids.
Yeah.
Like, to even just record an album and just send it out to labels, like, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of money to record something.
Right.
And you have to have a lot of belief in your music to just be like, you know what, we're not even going to play shows. We're not even going to get seen yet. We're just going to send music out and hope we get signed. And there's a little ignorance there too, because I think it's like, they probably thought they were so good that like a label was just going to scoop them up.
Right.
Unfortunately, that's not how that works at all.
Yeah.
So, but they had a lot of moxie, as I like to say.
Yeah. And it takes a lot of like courage to put your music out there without like, tour, I say touring, but I'm sure they were doing little small venues to like create a buzz, but to directly say, to create an album or record an album, especially in the time of like the late 90s, early 2000s, before the technology was readily available as it is now, it takes a lot of guts. And you're right, I will agree that it's not easy to do, but I respect it.
Yeah, and there was, and if there's any music recording engineer people out there, please correct me, but
Mm.
It's yeah, your point exactly. It's not like today where there's a lot of, technology available to you that you can
Mm.
pretty much record an album at home. You don't have to go
Yeah.
to a studio. It's a lot
Yeah.
cheaper. Um, I don't think in 1997 there was really that capability unless you had money and you could afford, I
Yeah.
guess, stuff. Um, you had to go to a studio, and studios would charge you. You're paying by the hour, and you're paying for a sound engineer to record for you, and that's going to
Mm.
cost a good amount of money.
Right.
So, I'm sure JJ will probably say something when he listens to this, but I don't know. I don't know what technology there was at the time, but I don't
Mm.
think it was as easy as it is today.
Yeah.
So, here they are with no singer and no record deal.
Mm.
So they were kind of at this crossroads. Fortunately, they had a lot of people to help them out who were
Mm.
in the industry. So in 1999, so this is about 2 years later,
Mm.
this A&R executive, Jeff Blue,
Mm.
who had been working a little bit with the band for about a year, kind of mentoring them, teaching them, like, what do you need to do? How do you get seen in the industry? He suggested that they go check out this vocalist from Arizona
Mm.
named Chester Bennington.
Mm.
So they had this audition for him. They gave Chester a demo of some of their songs, just instrumentals. Now, the legend, or we don't really know. Legend has it that he skipped his own birthday
Mm.
party to record vocals for the band.
Wow.
And when he played his recordings for the band, they were like so blown away. They asked him to fly to California immediately to be with the band.
Mm.
So it was literally just like he recorded this thing, and then it was like,
Mm.
you're in. We don't need to
Mm.
hear anything else. So
Yeah.
it was kind of made. It was destiny, I guess you
Yeah.
would say. Right.
Yeah. Like that's all it takes is like that right piece to fit, and all of a sudden the puzzle just becomes a masterpiece. And I love that Chester was like, I know this is my own day, but I have to get this piece of my sound into their sound and see if it gels. And and you're right, this is like the beginning of their destiny, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, and Chester apparently was very hardworking, and he was very committed to things he really believed in. So
Mm.
it doesn't surprise me that if this was something he really believed in or really
Mhm.
was passionate about, it's like, yeah, I don't care about my birthday. I need to record these vocal tracks and get signed with this band.
Mm.
So sure enough,
Mm.
Chester was on board. They decided to change their name because they wanted to reflect kind of this hybrid mix with
Mm.
Mr. Han, hip hop, with rock, with Chester's voice. So
Mm.
the first name they changed their band to was Hybrid Theory,
Mm.
which is interesting because that's actually the title of one of their albums,
Mhm.
their first album together.
Mm.
So here we are, new energy, new
Mm.
talent. So again, they sent out some demos, and again, they were rejected by all the labels, reportedly over 40 times. So it wasn't great.
Mm.
But eventually, so Jeff Blue, who was managing them and kind of mentoring them, he had moved to Warner Brother Records, which was a huge label at the time, and
Mm.
tremendous. He managed to get them signed.
Mm.
So with his work, mentorship, but also just him having the access to Warner Brothers, he was able to get them signed.
Right.
Now, there was a problem, though, that arose, which was there was already a band named Hybrid.
Mm.
So they had to change their name again.
Mm.
So they went through this process, and Chester suggested Linkin Park, as he used to drive past the Linkin Park in Santa Monica on his way to rehearsal.
Mm.
So, it was nothing. It was nothing like deep. It was
Mm.
just something that Chester noticed, I guess, every day when he was going to rehearsal. Was just like
Right.
Linkin Park.
Right.
Um, Now, the spelling of it, they found that the domain name, because this was the early era of, websites, and bands would have websites and all that.
Mm.
There was actually a domain name already called linkinpark.com, and it was way too expensive to buy. So that's why they changed the spelling of their name, because
Mm.
it's not spelled, Lincoln. It's spelled
Mm.
Linkin Park,
Mm.
so that they could own the website Linkin Park.
Right.
So that's why their name is not spelled, how Lincoln should be
Just
spelled.
pronounced. Yeah.
It's just because they had to change it for a website domain.
That sounds funny. But there is power in knowing naming your brand or your band or your artist. It gives you an insight as to what to expect. But obviously, there's always an interesting backstory to why different bands and artists choose their names. But it's interesting to hear that theirs was just a copyright concern, and but it's funny how that name alone I associate so many different emotions and memories to, but to them it was just like that was just a name we had to figure out. It's just
Yeah,
funny.
it's like it exactly. It's like sometimes we think like, oh, what's the deeper meaning behind this? And it's like,
Yeah.
no, we had to change it for a domain name.
Like
Like,
it's funny.
or like, no, we named our band after a park that I just drive by every day to practice.
Yeah, it's funny. That's ironic how things come full circle. That's all.
But like, and I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know if it's just because we're so used to the name, probably is, but like
Mm.
trying to imagine Linkin Park, their name as Hybrid Theory.
That would
Um,
be well, to be honest with you, that would be a dope band name for them because it would immediately spell out exactly what they are, which is what the band is.
mm,
And but you're right. It's like now to us, it's strange thinking that way. But at the beginning, it would have made sense. But it's who knows? A different alternative timeline maybe would have been interesting.
yeah, it's just like I hear Hybrid Theory. To me,
Mm,
yeah, it's very clear. It's like, oh, hybrid, but
yeah.
something about it just it gives a very early 2000
Mm.
name like feel. Like I don't think that name would be timeless. Where
Ah. Okay.
I
Yeah.
feel like Linkin Park is just that's timeless kind of name,
I see what you're saying. I see what you're
right?
saying. Yeah, you got a point. Yeah, you got a point.
So I don't know, but
Mm.
who knows?
Mm. Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, we'll talk a little bit about their albums, their
Mm.
success,
Mm.
maybe a little bit which ones are my favorites.
Mm.
So I call this the Diamond Era. Okay, this is
Mm.
early Linkin Park. So we're talking 2000, 2003.
Mm.
And this really established their sound and in the
Mm.
alternative rock world or the
Mm.
new metal world. Okay,
Mm.
as some people say. And I had no idea, and I'm sorry to all the people who are new metal fans. I had no idea what new metal was, and it's new spelt NU.
Uh,
But new metal it's a subgenre of alternative metal, blending
mm.
heavy riffs with
Mm.
influences from hip hop. So that is their
Okay.
style. So it is
Yeah.
new metal.
Okay. Okay.
I just
That's
didn't. I
that's.
never knew that.
I never knew that term myself personally, but it does reflect what they are. It's just not a. I just don't hear that term used often, or if not at all. So to me, it was. It's new to me, but it definitely reflects what they project, and
Mhm.
I honestly respect that. And I kind of always I always like I think we can talk about how we discover the bands personally.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but to me, I think they, growing up with hip hop from the '90s into the 2000s, there was so many different styles. And then when I came across Linkin Park, I thought it was a rap group. I genuinely did.
Mm.
And we could talk later about that. But when I discovered them, it was like, yo, what am I listening to? Like this is like new. Yeah.
New metal.
I see what you did there.
um,
Yeah.
yeah. So I guess the proper term is really new metal.
Mm,
Not really alternative rock, but anyway, we're getting into the nitty gritty.
mm,
But
mm,
these two albums, I think, just not only
mm.
established who they are, but just kept them timeless. Because I still
Mm,
listen to these albums all the
yeah.
time. So we had, of course, their debut album, Hybrid Theory, came out in 2000.
Mm,
It remains their most successful album. It
mm,
has sold over 32 million copies worldwide. It is certified 12 times platinum in the US, and it was the best-selling album in 2001.
mm, 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 mm.
I mean, it's every song on this album is like
Timeless.
perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know. You could
I
listen to this entire album.
and I could say, was it Paper Cut in the end, which
Hmm.
obviously everybody knows in the end. But there's so many like great great songs that to me, like, I remember hearing it when I was a teenager, and it like was like an explosion in my mind. And then I listened to it as someone in mid 30s, and I'm just like, this is like really good. Even though this was made in the 1990 2000, this is still like, I would put this up there with some of the new music. Like, this is great. Like, if you played this right now to someone who's never heard Linkin Park, which would be very shocking, but
Mm.
they would know that this is crafted art. This is crafted art mixed with passion. And it's obvious. You can hear it in the production, you can hear it in the instruments, you can hear it on the drums, you can hear it in Chester's vocals, and even Mike Shinoda's rapping. It's like, it's there's nothing, everything that's there belongs there. There's no fluff.
Yeah, and the album has, I think it's right. Like as a kid, high school
Mm,
kid, or even for me, it was really elementary school. Um,
mm,
but when I was younger, I don't really understand what the lyrics were. Right, I
right.
was just into this aggressive, raw
Mm-hmm.
uh, sound that they had.
Mm-hmm.
But what I liked about this album is not every song is in like super intense, right? There's
That's true.
it kind of goes up and down, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Because like that would be too much. Because there's a lot of tracks on this album, so it would be too much. But
Mm-hmm.
they knew how to craft a good track list that kind of goes through, brings you along. It's like we're gonna start off intense with like
Mm-hmm.
Paper Cut, One Step Closer, but then we're gonna bring it down a little bit, not too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is still, even their lesser intense stuff is still pretty intense.
Yeah.
But like Points of Authority or Runaway, um,
Oof.
By
Yeah.
Myself, like,
Mm-hmm.
but then it brings it
Mm-hmm.
back up where you have like In the End, Crawling, Pushing Me Away,
Yeah.
um, intense.
Yeah.
And then, we become, we're older and you listen to the
Mm.
lyrics of what he's actually talking about, and
Yeah.
some of it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Because here's a person struggling with depression,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
serious, mental things going on.
Mm.
And you hear it not only
Yeah.
in the lyrics, but in
Yeah.
his voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's their first album. And they just,
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
like they're like, we know our sound. We found
yeah.
it.
And now I'm thinking about like my first time hearing I think it was Numb.
Yeah.
Like it yeah, you're right. Like, you can hear it through Chester's vocals, like I got goosebumps thinking about like my first time hearing it, and all I'm hearing is like the overcoming of, like, you're right, mental health issues, depression, anxiety, stress, turmoil, and it's like it's raw, and yet like it's like, for especially for a teenager, my teenage years, it was like he was speaking for me. And
Hmm.
not just Chester, but obviously the band as a whole, but Chester in particular, I felt the rawness, I felt the pain, and I think because of that vulnerability with mixed with passion and talent, and it's just it is, I think for most people, when you listen to Linkin Park, you think about like, that was me, they're speaking for me.
Hmm.
And I love that because it created such a powerful bond to the band. It's for me, for definitely.
Yeah, and that was a whole. And I didn't put it in our notes here, but
Yeah.
their connection to their fans was huge. Like they had a
Mm-hmm.
huge. They called it the LP Underground, which was
Mm,
like a club essentially that
mm,
you were a part of, and they really did a nice job of trying to connect to their fans. Like they would make,
mm,
which at the time artists didn't do. Like they would do personalized videos for people who were a
mm,
part of their club. They would have
mm,
meetups with actual members. It wasn't just like, oh, come and maybe you'll
mm,
see us. It's like, no, we're gonna be there. Like come here and meet us, and we'll be there. Um,
mm,
and they would spend time after shows
mm,
talking to people, signing things. Um, like they actually cared about their fans, and it was
mm,
very apparent. Um,
mm,
and that was something really unique, I think, about them. Um,
mm,
they put a lot of effort into making sure that if you were a fan, you're part of
mm.
our kind of like
Experience.
family here. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I love that.
So, yeah, they start off with a bang. You got Hybrid
Mm.
Theory. Next album came out in 2003. Um, Meteora, which
Mm,
uh, I don't know, also another favorite of mine.
mm,
But this was an important album because
mm.
a lot of artists, you have your sophomore album come out
Yeah.
and it's make or break. Some
Right.
artists, it's not as good and they kind of lose
Yeah.
steam.
Mm.
But no, they didn't mess around. Meteora hit, and
Mm.
the album proved they weren't a one hit wonder. It
Yeah.
debuted number one on the Billboard 200,
Mm.
selling over 800,000 in the first week.
Mm.
And again, it has sold over 27 million copies worldwide.
Oof.
So like again, another hit.
Mm.
And this album to me is a much more refined sound
Mm.
than Hybrid Theory, where Hybrid Theory was kind of like raw and aggressive. This
Yeah.
was much more refined.
Mm.
I would say a little more tamed,
Mm.
but understanding when like emotion needs to come out, it comes
Mm.
out. So I mean, you have tracks on here like, I mean, the biggest one I think is like Numb, of course,
Yep.
which very emotional song. Again,
Mm.
dealing with you know dark issues,
Yeah. Very much.
like self harm,
Mm.
um,
Mm.
mental
Hell.
health issues, and then support.
Yeah.
It's in that song.
Yeah.
But then you have albums of like just self discovery and
Yeah.
like Somewhere I Belong,
Yeah.
or Breaking the Habit.
Yeah. I was just about to bring that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Songs about how do we break addiction, things like that.
Yeah.
So it's again a very like the lyrics are deep. They're about dark things, but it's
Mm.
the overall theme is like, how do you get over this? How do you
Right.
get past all your demons and get out of it?
Mm.
Or do you? Like it's kind of like a tough topic
Yeah.
what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to that, but
Mm.
another one of my favorite albums.
Yeah. Agreed.
I think
Uh,
I just played this album for an entire year when I first got it. I like that was all I listened to pretty much.
Y- yeah. There's so much great tracks. Somewhere I Belong, Faint. It's the lyrics at the time for me was very very powerful. We all go through different struggles with our lives, and personally, I remember this is one of the first bands I developed a really strong connection to. The like I couldn't find a skip on this album.
Hmm.
Like there like at the time throughout like whether it's a rapper, whether it's a singer, whether it's R&B, whether it's pop, this is like one of the first albums in my teenage years I never skipped a single song. Every single song to me it belonged right there. It was
Hmm.
perfect. But it's like I said, they came out the gate on Hybrid Theory saying, "Yeah, we're great." And everybody's wondering if they're going to get the sophomore blues, or are they going to be able to maintain the momentum? And they were like, "Oh yeah, we got more. We got more in the tank." And it's obvious that, like I said, it was crafted with passion, it was crafted with love, and it was crafted with like absolute like talent across the board. um and obviously we highlight Chester's vocals as one of the most like the driving spear of the band, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I remember just this album was it was such an evolution of their sound. I
Mm,
to be able to refine their sound the way that they did
mm,
in a year or two,
yeah.
where it would probably take most other bands a few albums
Mm,
to get there.
mm,
It shows how dedicated they were to their craft of
yeah.
let's elevate our sound and how can we do this
Exactly.
better.
Mm,
And they knocked it out of the park.
yeah.
So, um, another incredible album. And then we kind of get into they have this transition, and this kind of starts in
Mm,
2007 of a little bit more of experimenting,
mm,
where they kind of move away a little bit from their heavy roots, um, towards alternative, a little bit more electronic, a little industrial sounds. Um,
mm,
and we start off with Minutes to Midnight, which came out in 2007.
mm,
Um, and this was a really big shift for them.
mm,
But still, again, it debuted at number one.
mm,
Um, some fans, were not super excited about it because again, it was a shift.
mm,
But again, it sold 20 million copies worldwide.
mm, mm,
And it had some big singles on there.
yeah.
Shadow of the Day, What I've Done,
Mm,
um, Bleed It Out,
mm,
some of the bigger tracks on there. And I do like this album.
mm,
It took a while for me to kind of warm up to it, but
yeah.
it was a big shift for them. But I
Yeah.
think it made sense. It was an evolution. Again, they weren't going far from their original sound. They still had those
Correct.
elements, right? But again, it was even more refined and a little bit more
Mm,
mature. So
mm,
knowing, you know, uh, especially Chester, he was doing a lot more like singing and
mm,
less of the kind of like screaming.
yeah.
Um, but he knew when to do that,
Mm,
if that makes sense. Like it was much
yeah.
more
Yeah.
smart of where he needed to do it.
Mm,
Um, but another great album, and there was the
yeah.
third album, and that's another like the third album is usually also tough because it's like, okay, you did your sophomore, did well,
Mm,
can you do it again? And
mm,
they were able to do it again.
yeah.
So at this point, they were just on cruise control. They knew what they needed to do.
Right. I remember what I've done was definitely a great single. I don't know if that was a single, but that was the song that
Hmm.
yeah, that let me hear the third album. And to me it didn't polarize me, but I definitely, as I said before, I'm never going to fault someone for being experimental with the artistry, but it was definitely a different perspective than I was, as you said, it polarized certain people. It was different, but I kind of understood, and I still enjoyed it, but I didn't have as much. Maybe it could have been the as the times as I got older, but I think it didn't hit me as hard as like the first two. But it was still solid in my opinion.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was another great album.
Mm,
And then I'm not going to go over every single album, I think,
mm,
because they kind of start at this point
mm,
very minimal changes, I think.
mm,
I will talk about their next album, which was A Thousand Suns, which came out in
mm,
2010,
mm,
because this album for me,
mm,
a lot of people didn't like this album.
mm,
I did not like it either at first,
mm,
because it was a concept album that leaned kind of heavily into more electronic sounds, had a lot
mm,
of political themes behind it. Still debuted at number one.
mm,
But this was right around, because this is 2010. So physical sales kind of started to drop because
mm,
the industry was kind of shifting more towards digital.
mm,
So although it did debut at number one,
mm,
there was definitely a shift happening where we were now moving into the digital age, I
mm,
guess, of like streaming. Um, Regardless, this album, when it first came out, I
mm,
didn't like it. I barely listened
mm,
to it.
mm,
And I actually started to listen to it more recently, like probably 4 or 5 years
mm.
ago.
Okay.
Um, and there are some good songs on there. And
Mm,
it is a very politically charged album, obviously.
mm, mm,
But I think there's some good songs on there, like Wretches and Kings, The
mm,
Catalyst, The Messenger, uh, The Requiem. Some of
mm,
these songs, the production value and the time that they took to put the digital elements into it, the digital
mm,
sound, and mix it with hip hop, and then Chester's vocal abilities,
mm,
it did make for a good album.
mm,
Is it my favorite? No, but it's come around to me, and I do listen to it. And I do like it.
mm, mm. Uh,
So
I'll be honest. I've yet to hear this one, and I kind of am a little concerned because it sounds like very experimental and obviously leaning into the electronic area where I'm very familiar with. So for me, I kind of wondered, why I didn't listen to it personally. Because I think at the time in the early 2010s, I started getting into more indie bands and more like soft stuff. But
mhm.
I will always, like I said, I have a soft spot for, Linkin Park. So the fact that I haven't personally heard it, it's going to be on my things to listen to up this upcoming week. So I'm actually interested now.
Yeah, take a listen. Um,
Mm,
you gotta give it a few listens. It
mm,
takes a couple
that's the
listens.
one. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm,
Um, so like I said, I'm not going to talk about these next two albums. Honestly, I haven't really personally listened to them that much.
mm,
So in 2012, there was an album called Living Things that came out,
mm,
blended all their previous styles. It did reach number one in 15 countries. Um, but again, they were facing tougher competition now on the
mm,
charts. I don't. There's one song on there, "Burn It Down."
mm,
Um, I think that was the single. I'm not sure, but that was a pretty good track. That's the only
mm,
one I really remember. I don't anything else. I don't know.
mm.
Um, so you know what? I'm gonna listen to it. I'll give it a try again. We'll see.
Mm,
And then in 2014, they came out with an album called "The Hunting Party,"
mm.
which I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea what's on this album. Um, I really don't. I'm
Mm,
looking at the track list now, and I've never heard any of these songs.
mm,
Um, but it was apparently a return to their raw guitar-driven punk
mm,
heavy metal sound. Um, but it was their first album that didn't debut at number one.
mm,
So it peaked at number three.
mm,
And a lot of critics praised it for its energy and like returned to their original sound.
All right.
So I'm curious. I'm gonna listen to this one too, but it was something I never got into.
Right.
So
I guess, yeah.
you know, that happens, right? So then, we'll talk about this next album because I think this is an important one for a lot of reasons. So in 2017, came out with an album called One More Light, which this is an important album for a lot of reasons.
Yep.
Mainly because this is the last album with Chester on it. But I also think it was a good album. Like, this is a great album. It was more pop oriented. And it did, debut at number 1. People really liked it. It had a lot of massive resurgence in the band's catalog because it was such a hit. People started to listen to, previous albums by Linkin Park. So it really built in that interest back in the band. There's a lot of big songs on here. I mean, there's One More Light, which, is a tough song to listen to now. But then there's Talking to Myself, Good Goodbye, Battle Symphony, Heavy. I don't know if I said that right. I probably did. So this album, I can listen to it all the way through. Like, every track on here is great. But the sad part about this album is 2 months after it was released, Chester passed away. Which go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I remember when I heard that, I think it shocked, if not rocked, an entire generation, if not 2 generations. Definitely Gen X, and I think and millennials, maybe a little bit of Gen Z, but it rocked me, and it let everyone know, like, we never know what other people are battling in between albums and life and whatnot, but it definitely, I think he was a voice for millennials. I don't know if I can just say that openly, but anyway, his passion and his talent and his art was the driving force for a generation. I think for millennials particularly. I think that the music that they created, the collaboration they created, the fan base that they created, it was widespread of how much universal love I think the band had for several years, and then I think at that time, I think it brought everybody back to really appreciate everything they have, not just the discography, but just as well as the touring, the connections they have with the fan base, and especially with Chester as one of the, like I said, the spear of the band, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that he was a voice. I mean, not only for a generation, but I think he was just a voice for an advocate for mental health. And if you don't know, he struggled with
depression.
Extreme depression. He battled with it daily. And it was, very. Yeah. I remember hearing about it and I was like, whoa, like, what? It just, no one expected it. And of course, that's the thing. You never expect it to happen.
Right. Yeah.
And unfortunately, it did. And it's sad because he did take his own life. But I think he did a lot for, giving a voice for people who struggle with depression. And just putting that into his lyrics, into his songs about this is the struggle. He talked a lot about how it can be seen as like an invisible thing where people don't see it. So people assume you're okay, but it's
right. Mm-hmm.
he made it come out in his songs that like, no,
Mm-hmm.
it's like going through hell every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was just such an advocate for that,
Yeah.
um,
Mm-hmm.
that it was really terrible
Yeah.
when that happened.
Yeah. Yeah. It as growing up, I've always gravitated to artists that were very vulnerable. So, like I said, I mentioned before, DMX, Kid Cudi, and Linkin Park, and a few others. The the fact that they're willing to be with their lyrics, with their performance, with their, it's just like it's a part, that vulnerability they have, and they within their art, and they expose it to to the world. It takes a level of courage, but it also gives courage to others. So I think, especially, I think, for without a doubt, uh, Lincoln Park was just without a doubt, it gave me courage, and I'm sure it did for a lot of people. You can, like I said, from the lyrics, just from the rawness in the vocals, you can hear the passion that Chester tried to, I guess, like, project his love onto the world and to everyone, by exposing himself. And it's not an easy thing to do for an artist, especially an artist is going through things. So anyway, it was, like I said, he was in my opinion, he's a voice for the millennials, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it's, his impact is still
Yeah.
going on to this day, with people still listening to the band, and kind of discovering them for the first time.
Yeah.
So it's, it's still out there, and he still has an impact on people.
Right.
So I think with that, it's, the band, when that happened, because Mike talked a lot about how they were going to move on. So the first, because they did a tour or show without him as kind of a tribute. And if you ever watch videos of it on YouTube, it really is, you see the impact he had, because the crowd is essentially singing all of his parts. So it's very emotional watching it, because you just see, like, everyone knows his parts and they're singing his parts, and it's incredible to watch that. But for the first few years, so 2019 to 2022, the band was kind of in this weird stop and go, where they didn't have a set plan, but like Mike, Joe, Han, and Dave, Phoenix, would just meet to hang out and write music without any pressure of like being Linkin Park or writing songs. They just wanted to hang out, play music. So during this time, they collaborated with a lot of other artists, some singers, some songwriters. And this is when they met Emily Armstrong, who was from the band at the time, Dead Sarah. And producer / drummer, his name is Colin Britton. So they met them. Initially at the time, it was just, they would just hang out, they would meet, they would write songs. There was no commitment, right? It was just, we're just hanging out. But the turning point was, the band realized that their chemistry with Emily was unique. And Mike talked about in an interview that they weren't looking for a, Chester clone. Because he was worried about the uncanny valley effect, where someone is sounding too much like the original, so it feels creepy or like, not authentic to the listener. So finally in 2023, during a session, Johan and Mike asked if they should try having Emily sing lead on a full demo. So she did that, and the result, really impacted the band to the point that, they realized she wasn't just a collaborator anymore.
Mm.
She was like the missing piece of the band.
Mm.
So, they asked her to join, and she described kind of like panicking um,
Mm.
in the best way
Yeah.
because, this was a band she grew up with. So it was
Right.
kind of like a dream to join them.
Mm.
Um, so from that point on, the band had these secret, they called them From Zero sessions,
Mm.
where they were actually working on the album.
Mm.
They spent a year doing this in total secrecy, like nobody really knew until finally, rumors that they carefully actually constructed these rumors and sent them out that there
Mm.
was a female lead singer now. But the band would stay silent, so they wouldn't address any of these rumors, right? So it was kind of build
Momentum.
curiosity.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then on September 5th, in 2024, the band held a global live stream event
Mm.
where they introduced Emily. And she
Mm.
performed the new song or new single, which at the time was the Emptiness Machine. So
Mm.
that was kind of the start of like the new era of Linkin Park.
Mm.
Um, so that's where we are now, 2024 to present.
Mm.
From Zero came out. You have Emily as the new co-lead vocal.
Mm.
And then you have Colin, who's the new drummer and producer. So the original drummer, Rob, he chose to step away during the
Mm.
hiatus and decided to kind of go pursue other things in his life.
Mm.
Um, but he did say in an interview, when when they lost Chester, in his mind, he was like, that's the end of Linkin Park. Um,
Mm.
so he respects the band and like what Mike was trying to do, but he just was like, it's
Mm.
not for me.
Mm. Yeah.
Which totally understandable. Like that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Very
Um,
fair.
and I've heard this album, heard Emily's, like her voice singing
Mm.
with the band. I have my thoughts about it. I respect what they're
Mm.
doing. And I do I like the album. I like elements of it. I like some of the
Yeah.
songs.
Mm.
Um, but it's hard for me to just. It's a different feeling. It's a different
Yeah.
vibe.
Separate that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's naturally. I think everyone is trying to compare her to
Mm.
Chester,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's not what they're trying to do. They don't want, like they said, they don't want a
Mm.
clone. They want somebody who has their own
Mm.
unique sound, which she does, and she's a great
Mm.
singer and performer. But
Mm.
it is different. It's different.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I'll say that the song from Heavy as the Crown, I like that. That's one of my, I
hmm
think, my personal favorites from that album. But the it is a different feel, and it took me a moment to kind of separate what I know versus what is now. And
hmm
I can accept what they're like. Not saying accept. I acknowledge what they're doing. Um, and it's just a different direction. It's still Linkin Park, sure, but it's a
hmm
different type of Linkin Park, and I think that's the challenge. I think they're going to have to overcome. I think they're heading in the right direction. It's too early for me to develop an opinion yet. But I like what they've done so far with this album particularly. But it's a different feel. So it's gonna take time for that to develop a like an under like it's gonna have to take a while for it to resonate with me. But I do like what they're trying to do.
yeah, exactly. And I respect it. I will listen to it, and I have listened to it,
Mm.
and I like it. Um, Personally, though, like I will still listen to the older
Yeah.
albums.
Yeah.
And I know some people who are also very strong, Linkin Park
Mm.
fans
Mm.
who feel very strongly about this isn't Linkin Park, so I'm not going to listen to it.
Yeah, and I could kind of respect that, especially for just like how the drummer Rob was like, look, I like without Chester, it doesn't feel doesn't feel the same. So it takes I so I can't even fault people. So if
Hmm.
that they're like, hey, I respect y'all what y'all want to do, but I can't follow that path because I have such an attachment to the old chemistry of what is that sound for the last like decade basically, and or 2 decades actually, almost 2 decades. Now I have to like it's just a different understanding. It's a different feel. So I understand what people feel on that.
Yeah, and listen, the last thing I'll say about it, it's like his voice
Mm.
was a once in a generation type voice.
Yep.
You're
Hmm.
not going to find that easily, and the fact that his voice worked so well with this band, and they were together for 2 decades to really they
Hmm.
understood their sound so well.
Hmm.
It, you know, that's hard. You can't
Yeah.
replicate that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I think what they're doing is the smart choice, which is they're saying like we're not trying to replicate that. We're just
Hmm.
trying to continue as a band and make a new sound.
Hmm.
And I respect that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they still want to play together. They still want to play music,
Mm.
and I'm here for it. I want to hear
Mm.
it.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I'm excited what they will do in the coming years, and
Mm.
see what they're going to be up to.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Agreed.
that's
I
it.
agree with that. Yeah. I agree with that.
So
Mm.
here we are. I think personally, I'll talk a little bit about the impact they had.
Mm. Mm.
I think that growing up, I've listened to them since
Mm.
sixth or seventh grade.
Mm.
Um, and just I remember hearing the song. I think "Crawling" was the first one I heard,
Mm.
um,
Mm.
and it really changed my perspective of what music could be
Mm.
with the mix of hip hop and rock,
Mm.
and Chester's vocal range. I
Yeah.
felt a connection immediately, and at that time, like I don't know what I was listening to. I think I was listening to like all these random things that
Yeah.
was not good, because I
Mm.
was trying to kind of find what music I liked.
Mm.
Um, but it's just, and it says a lot too. As I've grown, I've kind of now understood more of the deep complexity of issues that they were
Mm.
talking about,
Yeah.
um, and it really makes me respect them a lot more. Um, so it's just this band I think has had profound impact on my listening
Mm.
musical taste,
Yeah.
as a person. So that's
Yeah.
kind of where I stand with that. What about you?
Yeah. Same thing. Like I said, growing up, I was what was it? What was that music store? We keep bringing it up, and I keep forgetting it. It doesn't exist
Fye.
anymore. Fye. Thank you. And I remember like when you would listen to music on the headphones, and it would rotate into different songs, and you would hear a random mix. And I think for me, I heard Paper Cut, and I remember hearing that drum pattern, and I was just like, "This is dope." Okay, and I'm like this guitar riff, and then it was just like my mind was blown away, and that's how I discovered them. And I remember like I had like a $20 allowance every other week, and I used that $20 immediately and bought Hybrid Theory, and I like I played that disc back and forth, front and back, nonstop. Um, and so much to the point that the next week I went back there, and ironically, Meteora was there, and I bought that too. And I think those are the only two albums I never burned into a CDRW. For those
Hmm.
who remember that, and I would make mixtapes. I refused to. I refused to use them as mixtapes. I listened to. I respected the song so much and the band so much that I would only listen to the album on the album disc itself. And
Hmm.
like I said, the combination of Chester, the drums of mixed with hip hop and rock guitar, it just to me it connected in a way that I never thought was possible. And like I said, it was my own way of discovering what kind of rock music I wanted to listen to, not just influences from people playing music around me. This is like my personal first band that like I was like, I discovered this. This speaks to me, and and this was like, and it was a staple like for me, especially in my teenage years. For most of us, I think, like I said, Chester was a voice for the millennials, and it just like like I said, Crawling, Paper Cut on Hybrid Theory, and then Numb, Faint. It was just those were just those songs. Even to this day, if I play that right now, the goosebumps that I had then, it will hit me now. And it's just, that's when you have such a masterpiece in artistry and everybody understanding where they belong. And there's, like I said, there's no unnecessary filler on that album. There's no unnecessary like sound. Everything belongs right there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well,
yeah,
this was quite the doozy. But I'm glad we got to talk about them today.
Yeah.
So with that, we do want to share some exciting. We want to get some, listener engagement here. So we created today a Google form about Linkin Park. It has 3 questions on it. 2 are about Linkin Park. They are multiple choice. Don't worry, it's very easy. Very easy. It will take you about a minute to fill it out. But please, it will be linked in the show profile. It will also be linked on our website, musicmusingspodcast.com. So please take your time, fill it out. We want to hear from you. We're asking, what was your favorite, if you listened to Linkin Park, what was your favorite Linkin Park song? And what was your favorite album by them? And then we also have a question on there of what artist should we spotlight next? So we have a few choices there. There's also an other button. So if you have another suggestion, you can type it in. Who should we spotlight? But we want to hear from you. Because we're running out of ideas. No.
Oh shoot!
No, we're fine. We're fine.
Sorry, even I didn't see that coming. It's just, I was like, we are.
We have ideas. Don't worry.
Yeah. Oh my god, that was funny.
But please submit this. We want to hear from you. Let us know.
Yeah.
And you know what? We'll give you a shout out if you do it. We'll give you a shout out.
Yeah.
We'll shout out you on the next episode. So fill it out. Let us know. Yeah, that's all we got. So thank you for listening. And we will catch you next time.
Take care, everyone.